Welcome to section 3, where we're going to be creating the start and the game over scenes for our game. In this section, we're going to be creating a start scene that leads to the gameplay screen. We're going to learn more about the anchor point values. We're going to learn how to animate images with skTexture class. We're going to perform action when skSprite node is clicked and add transition effect. We're going to create a game over scene and learn how to use the skLabel node. And finally, we're going to learn how to present the game over scene after 10 seconds has lapsed in our game. Create a start game scene. In this video, we're going to create a start game scene and modify our code to start from this scene. This is where we stopped the last time. The next thing that we want to do is to create a new scene. Right-click on the game app and select New File. You want to select the Swift file, click on Next, and then we want to call this one the Start Scene. Click on Create to create a new scene. Here we want to import the sprite kit and not the foundation, and then we want to create a class called Start Scene, which is going to be a subclass of skScene, and we also want to override the didMove function. The first thing we want to add is a button that we need to start the game. I'm going to go to the Assets folder and then bring up the Finder. I'm going to drag this button called Start. I'm going to drag it here. Now go back to the Start Scene. I'm going to create a play button skSprite node. Let play button equals to skSprite node, image named. We've done this a couple of times. The button is called Start. So now we want to place it on our screen. So let me set the position of the play button. I'm going to say play button.position equals to CG point, and we need an X and Y value. So the X value I'm going to set will be half of the width and then the quarter of the height, because I want to place it towards the bottom. Self.size.width divided by 2, and then self.size.height divided by 4. And then let's add the play button, our child play button. Before we can see this in action, we need to go to the view controller. We want to change the starting point of our game to be the start scene and not the game scene. So let start scene equals to, so I'm going to change this to the new scene that we just created. So now I'm going to copy this so that when we present from the SK view, we present in the start screen. So if I should launch the app now, we should be able to see the button that we just added, which is the play button, and that should be towards the bottom. However, we might need to set a couple of more properties, such as the scale and the background color. Right now the background color is black by default, and the button is bigger than I need. So let's go back to the start scene, and I'm going to change a couple of properties. Play button dot set scale, and that will be 0.5. I want half of the size, and then I want to change the background color of the view. Self dot background color equals to, by the way, there's a SK color that we can use, dot white rather than the UI color, so keep that in mind, and I'm going to run it. So instead of using the UI color the white, you can say SK color the white, because that's more for the SK class, which is the sprite kit class. So this is looking more like exactly what I want. So yeah, I'm going to create a new sprite node. Let cat node equals to sk sprite node, and I know we called it cat. And then here I'm going to say cat node dot position equals to, I'm going to use the same CG point as the button because it's going to be in the center, but the only thing that will be different is instead of placing it close towards the bottom, remember as we move up, the Y value increases. So instead of dividing it by 4, which is just quarter of the height, that's where I place the button, I want to place it towards the top. So I'm going to multiply this by 3/4. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. We need to add it first before we can run the code. Add cat node. So let's run that. Okay, so that looks great. You can see that if we should divide the Y value by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see that the button is placed just exactly quarter of the height. And then we move out 3 times, the cat is placed towards that. So if we should choose another simulator, for example, iPhone X, and run it on that as well, the position should be the same. So this is how it looks on both the iPhone X and the iPhone 8 Plus. As you can see, the positioning is quite correct. The best way to position your sprite node is to kind of use a fraction of the width and height so that the placement can be correct in any screen size that you choose. In this video, we created a new start scene and modify our game to start from this scene.